Welcome to Analyzing a Deal Part 2. In Part 2, we're going to break down the income. So let's get into it. All righty. So breaking down the rental income, there's a couple of things that you're trying to break down here. Unit type. So unit type is basically what kind of unit it is. So this is, you could have a studio, apartment, or that could be an efficiency. Same kind of thing. You could have one bedroom units, you could have two bedroom units, you could have three bedroom units, even four bedroom units. But you could also have, let's say you have two different types of two bedroom units, two different layouts. Maybe ones have balconies, ones don't. So you could have two different layouts for two bedroom. Maybe you have two bedroom A, two bedroom B layout. So that's kind of what you're looking for in type. So when you're analyzing a property, you want to make sure that you have those broken down. Unit count is pretty obvious. That's how many of those specific types of units that you have for the property. And then you'll just want to have also accurate rental figures to project out. So you want to know what the rents are currently, and then figure out what the rents are if you do any sort of renovation. What kind of market potential are there for those rates? So those are the kind of the big things that you're looking at. Here's kind of a quick breakdown of the one property that we have. It was a mobile home park of 24 units, and then we had five apartments in a 5-unit multifamily as well. So we came up with the rents and the current average rent for that unit type, and then kind of what they were after any sort of renovations or where we could get it market wise, to kind of see where we are currently with rent and where we could get with that income. So current and post renovation amenities. So you're looking at stuff like after you do the renovations, the stuff that you're going to be looking at adding to the unit um, to improve it, get you more rent, because that's the main goal. So you're looking at washer and dryers. If they don't have washer and dryers or they need a serious upgrade there, that's a huge benefit for the tenant. If they don't have to go to a laundromat to do their wash, that'll be a big added benefit to them. Security systems, if you need be. That's a kind of nice added benefit. Covered parking is a nice one, especially if you're somewhere where it's uh, inclement weather. So either like lots of snow, lots of rain, or even just really hot, where the sun's going to be really hot. You can actually charge sometimes for covered parking, increase your income that way. But that's a nice little benefit to the tenant, be able to park under some sort of roof. Pet friendly units. These are good to have because you can attract a wider tenant base if you're allowing tenants to bring their pets. So you can charge more for that. You can charge a security deposit, typically non-refundable pet deposit, and then basically an additional, $35 to $50 a month for having the pet there in rent. So central air, if your property, if you can upgrade your property, or if the property has central air, that's a big benefit. Then they don't have to use the tenants don't have to use window units. They're usually paying for electric, so the central air will drastically reduce the electricity cost than using window units. Some of the other amenities you can have, especially if you have slightly bigger properties, a pool obviously would be nice. Storage, you can have these at smaller properties too. If you have a shed, or a garage that you can turn into storage, that's a great amenity for the tenant. And then you can also charge more for that as well to increase the bottom line, or something like a workout room or a community room where they can have parties and whatnot. But like the pool, workout room, community room, typically for larger apartment complexes. If you got like a 3 or 4 unit, you're not gonna have anything like that because it just won't make financial sense. So when you're looking at doing a property, you're gonna want to look for a property that has some sort of value add where you can increase the rents, increase the value. So you got to put together a renovation budget for those units. What's going to be needed, so then you can get that aftermarket or after renovation rent. That's maybe a couple $100 more than what you're charging at the moment. So this is an example from that same 5 unit. There was an apartment that was for $425 a month. The post renovation rent was $995. So we'd add $6,840 per year in income. Renovation cost came in at $12,200. So the ROI on the The renovation was 56%. That basically gets the renovation paid back in 2 years. But the added benefit of that is if you had to refinance or sell that property, that 6,800 additional year would drastically increase the value of the property more than that renovation cost. So some of the things that you're looking at, you're looking at flooring, um, that the vinyl plank flooring is great nowadays. We traditionally go away from the carpet. It's just kind of looks worse. And you got to replace it more often. The vinyl plank flooring can be pretty durable, and just gives you a cleaner look there. Kitchen, you'd be looking at stuff like appliances, cabinets, countertops. Obviously, the bathroom is big. That's a big thing for looks at the property when people are touring it to see if they want to stay there. If you have a nice bathroom, that's a big selling point. The kitchen and bathroom are usually the two biggest selling points for that. Inside the unit, paint. You obviously always kind of want to do paint when you're turning over units. If it's got scuffs on the wall or just needs a new fresh coat of paint can make look fresh and really make it look a lot better. And then just any other kind of renovation stuff that you do around the apartment that needs light fixtures, stuff like that. Molding maybe if you want to go that route. So when you're looking at renovations, you're looking at kind of like an easy way to look at is low, medium, and high renovations. So if you're looking at low, you're looking at depending on where you're at. For us, it's generally $7,000 to $10,000 per unit. Minimal upgrades, paint, obviously paint, cheaper vinyl flooring, update bath, vanity, minor kitchen work. Maybe we're painting the cabinets instead of replacing the cabinets. That's a big way to save. And you're not going with a super nice countertop, but you can update the countertop in multiple ways. A medium renovation, 10,000 to 15,000 per unit these days. Paint, you do a little bit better vinyl flooring all throughout. Update the bathroom even more. Paint the kitchen cabinets. Maybe even replace them, depending on how big the kitchen cabinets are. And then replace appliances. Usually go with brand new, kind of a little bit better appliances than just your general. And then if you're doing a high end renovation, you're probably looking at $15,000 to $20,000 all in per unit. You're doing the paint, nice vinyl flooring, full updated bathroom, new kitchen cabinets, new countertops, new appliances, maybe some black appliances. Just doing a whole renovation on the unit. So you could be looking at 15 to 20,000. So that's where you need to find your numbers of where that cost is going to be, and if the rent kind of makes sense, the rent increase that you'll get from doing that, if that rent increase is going to make sense for the amount of money that you're going to be putting in. So post renovation market rents, there's tons of different ways that you can do this. Rentometer.com is a great website that offers rental data, so you can check there. It'll give you kind of high end. It'll give you percentiles, what the average rent is for the area per bedroom unit. So that can be a good kind of starting point for you. Apartments.com is also another great resource. You can basically look at actual listings, and then you can compare, what kind of stuff that you're putting into your units amenity wise versus what's out there. What are they charging for rent? And you kind of combine all that data from apartments.com to give you kind of what your price is per square foot or what your average is for that kind of apartment unit. And then that can give you a good outlook for what you could get for rent. And then another good way is always check with local property managers. They'll have the best up-to-date data. And if you got some good ones that you trust, they'll be able to give you accurate real-time figures. And that's a great another third or fourth check on your numbers to make sure that you're consistent, because it's hard to predict do a great analysis if your post renovation rents are not accurate. So and then other than rents, there's other sources of income that you can have. Coin operated laundry is a big one. If you can't put laundry in the units, if you have a little room that you can put a couple of units of laundry units in, and then just have those either coin operated, or nowadays they have ones that you can just swipe with a credit card. You can get an additional income there. I already mentioned storage. That's always a great one and popular one. Garages. If you got garages where they can store their car, that's a good one. Pet fees, I had already mentioned. And then you could also look at opportunities for additional units or bedrooms. Can you add another unit from a space that you're not using currently? or do you have these kind of weird large units that you could subdivide some of the rooms into two smaller rooms and get an extra bedroom? Because additionally, and adding additional bedroom is usually going to get you a little bit more rent if you have a 3 bedroom versus a 2 bedroom in almost all areas. So if you can do that and it makes sense with the space, you're not just making this really tiny bedroom. That's a great way to add income to the bottom line. And then just some other miscellaneous ones. If you do like an internet package, like you get a great deal from the internet company, and then you basically the tenants pay you for that, and then you make a little profit on the top there. Cell phone tower, if you're in got a great property area where they want to put a cell phone tower, that's a great one. If you can get that, that's just kind of more on luck. And then tech package, if you have higher end units, you want some thermostats that are easy to set, locks that you can do on your phone through an app, all that kind of stuff. That can do a little bit of added value if that's something that people are interested in that area for that unit class. So if you want to just break down some of the income, this is kind of the best way to do it. So you're going to list out all your apartments, the rents, get a monthly rental income, then obviously annualize that. So you're times that by 12, taking the vacancy rate off. So you're going to have a vacancy rate, which is basically times that you're not going to be renting out that unit. People move, then it takes time to put a new tenant in that place. There's generally a common number for your market, a market average that you can go with there. And I usually budget a little bit higher there so I can include turnover costs in that as well. So if I budget a little bit higher, maybe 10% instead of 8%, then you're giving yourself a little bit extra cushion. But it's good to find your market average for other multifamily in the area, and then go with that. But be conservative with your number. So you're taking that off the annual rental income, and you add back any other income that you'd have, maybe coin operated laundry, storage income, and then that gives you your total expected income. And then you also just like I said earlier, you want to look to see if there's any potential upside to the rents, maybe bumping up. Maybe there wasn't storage, you're adding storage, that kind of stuff. So you want to know what it's at currently, and then kind of where you can get that income. So the next step will be breaking down the expenses. So join us there. That's step 3 of analyzing a deal.